Now let me tell you something that's about to shake a whole lot of people up. A report just dropped, and it says by 2038, India could be the second largest economy in the entire world. Let that sink in for a minute. I'm talking about a country that not too long ago, people used to look at as a place that was just finding its feet, building roads, lifting millions out of poverty, trying to find its way in the global order. And now, all of a sudden, the numbers, the statistics, the projections are saying, you better start paying attention because this nation is coming for that number 2 spot. That's not just growth. That's transformation on a historic scale. That's a statement. And you know what makes it so shocking? The fact that for decades, people believed the story was already written. They believed the United States and China were going to dominate, and everyone else just had to play catch up, that the West would always hold the money, the power, the resources, and the influence. But this right here, this is proof that you cannot underestimate a nation that refuses to quit. You cannot underestimate people who carry history on their back and determination in their heart. Because India, my friends, has been underestimated for too long. They said it couldn't happen. They said it wasn't possible. They said the challenges were too big, the problems too complex, the corruption too widespread, the poverty too deep. But now the conversation has shifted. Now the same people who used to look down are looking up. Let me paint this picture clear for you. We're talking about a country with 1.4 billion people. That's not just a population. That's a workforce. That's a consumer market. That's a generation of entrepreneurs, engineers, scientists, farmers, and dreamers. That's more people waking up every single morning with ambition in their chest than the population of entire continents. And here's the kicker. Most of those people are young. We're not talking about an aging population that's worried about who's going to take care of them in the next 20 years. We're talking about a population that's stepping into their 20s and 30s, ready to build, ready to innovate, ready to hustle, ready to claim their future. When you've got youth and energy combined with education, technology, and opportunity, you've got something unstoppable. Now, when they say India could become the second largest economy by 2038, understand what that really means. It means the world order shifts. It means the way trade happens shifts. It means the flow of money, influence, and respect shifts. You can't ignore a country sitting at the top. And here's the truth. India is not waiting for anybody's permission. It's not asking for validation. It's not knocking on the door saying, please let us in. India is building its own door, carving its own path, setting its own pace, and the world has no choice but to watch. But let's break down how this is happening. It's not by accident. It's not luck. It's not because somebody handed them a free ticket. This is the product of years and years of consistent growth, reforms, innovation, and sheer grit. You see, while some countries were slowing down, India was speeding up. While others were looking backward, India was looking forward. While others were caught up in political games, India was investing in technology, digital infrastructure, green energy manufacturing, and space exploration. That's why it's happening. Because when a country decides to invest in itself, when it believes in its own people, when it refuses to bow down to pressure, that's when growth becomes inevitable. And here's what I love about this story. India's rise is not just about money. It's about pride. It's about proving to the world that no matter how many times you get counted out, you can rise. No matter how many challenges you face, you can stand tall. It's about showing the next generation of Indians that their dreams don't have a limit, that their future doesn't have to be defined by the past. Think about it. Within one lifetime, India went from being colonized and exploited to becoming one of the most powerful economies on earth. That's not just progress, That's a comeback story for the ages. Now, I know some people out there are shaking their heads, saying, well, 2038 is a long way off. A lot can change between now and then. And you know what? They're right. But here's the thing. Momentum is real. Once a train is moving at full speed, you can't stop it with small obstacles. India's train is already rolling, and it's gathering speed with every passing year. Look at the numbers. GDP growth consistently higher than most developed nations. Foreign investments flowing in like never before. Startups booming. Creating unicorns faster than some of the biggest economies in the world. A digital economy that's connecting villages to the same opportunities as cities. This is not hype. This is data, this is evidence, this is reality. And yet, the most powerful part of this story is not just the statistics, it's the spirit. Because statistics alone don't create miracles. Spirit does. The spirit of a people who refuse to quit. The spirit of a nation that says, we're not defined by poverty, we're defined by potential. The spirit that says, we don't want a seat at the table, we want to build the table. That's the energy driving India right now. And let me tell you something, when that kind of energy is unleashed, there's no telling how high it can go. Now, let's talk about why this matters for the rest of the world. Because this isn't just an Indian story. This is a global story. When India rises, it creates balance. It means the world doesn't have to depend on one or two superpowers. It means countries in Africa, Asia, Latin America, they have an alternative partner, a new ally, a new market to trade with, a new example to follow. That changes everything. That shifts power away from the few and into the hands of the many. And you better believe some people in boardrooms and offices around the world are nervous about that. Because a stronger India means they can't dictate terms anymore. It means they can't play puppet master anymore. It means the balance of power is moving east, and this time India is leading the march. But let me make it clear, it won't be easy. There will be challenges. There will be setbacks. There will be critics, both inside and outside, who say it can't be done, who try to sabotage progress, who try to divide people. But here's what I know, a nation that has already survived colonization, partition, wars, poverty, natural disasters, and political chaos cannot be broken by obstacles. If anything, obstacles make it stronger. Every setback has been fuel. Every challenge has been motivation. Every doubt has been a spark that lit the fire higher. That's why I believe this projection isn't just a number. It's a glimpse into the future. Because the world we're moving into is a world where India will not just be participating, it'll be leading. Think about it. By 2038, India will have the technology, the economy, the innovation, the culture, the influence, and the population to shape global conversations. It will have a say in how climate change is fought, how wars are prevented, how trade is conducted, how humanity explores space, how the future of technology unfolds. That's not just economic power, that's leadership power. So when you hear this report, don't think of it as just some economic projection. Think of it as a warning shot. Think of it as the world saying, pay attention, because change is coming. And you can either prepare for it or get left behind. Because India is not slowing down and it's not turning back. It's accelerating toward a destiny that was written in its DNA from the beginning. A destiny of greatness. Now, here's what I want you to think about. Every time a nation rises like this, it doesn't just change the economy, it changes the psychology of its people. It gives a generation permission to dream bigger. It makes a young kid in a small village believe that he or she can create the next big company, discover the next big breakthrough, design the next big invention. It makes families believe that their children's lives will be better than theirs. That belief, that hope, that's more powerful than any GDP number. Because when people believe in their own future, They work harder, they fight harder, they achieve more. And that's the secret ingredient you can't measure in charts or graphs. And let me tell you something, when 1 billion people believe, that belief becomes reality. That's why this report is shocking, because it's not just numbers. It's a mirror reflecting back the truth that's been building for years. The truth that India is not a sleeping giant anymore. It's wide awake. The truth that India is not waiting for approval. It's taking its rightful place. The truth that the story of the 21st century will not be written by just 1 or 2 nations. It will be co-authored by India. So to the skeptics, to the doubters, to the critics, I say this: keep watching. Keep saying it can't be done. Keep underestimating. Because while you're doubting, India is building. While you're criticizing, India is creating. While you're hesitating, India is accelerating. And when 2038 arrives and the numbers are undeniable, and the second largest economy in the world is shining with the name India written all over it, don't act surprised, because the signs were here all along. The real shock isn't India aiming for the second spot. It's that the world still doubts it can happen. Think about that for a moment. The data is out there. The projections are public. The growth rate is undeniable. Yet people still hesitate. They still want to hold on to the old narrative that India is merging, when in reality it has already emerged. The shock isn't India's ambition. It's the disbelief that accompanies it. The reluctance of the world to accept that a country once dismissed as struggling is now knocking on the door of the top 2 economies. That disbelief is more telling than the projections themselves, because it reveals a mindset stuck in the past, unable to recognize the transformation unfolding in front of their eyes. For decades, the story was written with the same 2 characters, the United States and China. The rest of the world was given supporting roles, sometimes praised for small progress, sometimes ignored altogether. India was mentioned, yes, but more as a background player, too chaotic, too divided, too poor, too slow. That's what they said. The doubters never looked at the depth of resilience, the scale of talent, the hunger for progress, the determination that lived in the hearts of millions. They underestimated what it means for a nation to carry centuries of history, yet still push forward with fresh energy. Now, when reports say India could be the second largest economy by 2038, those same voices don't know how to react. Some downplay it, some laugh. Some raise endless ifs and buts. They question the possibility instead of recognizing the reality. But let me ask, why does the world doubt India? Is it because they don't see the numbers? No, the numbers are crystal clear. Is it because they don't see the progress? No. Progress is visible everywhere, from skyscrapers in Mumbai to tech parks in Bengaluru to satellite launches in Sriharikota. The doubt comes from an old habit, a bias, a reluctance to let go of outdated images of India. For too long, people only associated India with poverty, slums, corruption, and instability. That picture is what they want to hold on to. Because if they admit that India has transformed, then they also have to admit that the balance of global power is shifting. And that's what scares them. The truth is, India has already proven itself in ways that the world pretends not to notice. Look at technology. India went from barely having phone lines to creating one of the world's largest digital economies. Villages that once struggled with electricity are now connected by high-speed internet. Farmers are selling crops on apps. Students in remote towns are learning coding and AI. This isn't the picture of a developing country stuck in the past. This is the picture of a future-ready giant. But when you show these realities to doubters, they brush them off as exceptions, as if India's progress is a temporary flash instead of a sustained trajectory. And let's talk about resilience. When COVID hit, the world said India couldn't handle it. They predicted chaos, collapse, disaster. Yet what happened? India not only managed, it became the pharmacy of the world, producing vaccines not just for itself, but for dozens of countries. That wasn't luck, that was capacity. That was organization, planning, and execution on a scale the world wasn't ready to acknowledge. Still, after that, the doubt remained. Because for some, the idea of India leading doesn't fit into their worldview. It challenges their assumptions. You see, the real shock is not about economic numbers climbing. It's about perception refusing to change. The West has long positioned itself as the center of progress, the yardstick by which others are measured. If India rises to the second spot, then the old narrative falls apart. It means the future isn't Western dominated anymore. It means power isn't concentrated in a few hands anymore. It means countries from the so-called global South can rise on their own terms. That's uncomfortable for those who benefited from being gatekeepers of success. So instead of admitting that the shift is happening, they cling to doubt. But let's look at the momentum that makes this doubt foolish. India's GDP is growing faster than most major economies. The demographic advantage is real. Hundreds of millions of young people ready to work, innovate, and consume. Manufacturing is scaling up. Foreign investments are flowing in. Startups are thriving. Digital payments are outpacing the world. These are not dreams, these are daily realities. If any other nation had this combination, if the world would be singing its praises. If it were a European country with these growth rates, the media would be declaring a golden era. If it were an East Asian nation, analysts would be calling it a miracle. But because it is India, the doubts remain. That tells you the doubt is not rational, is rooted in bias. The doubters say, but India has poverty. Yes, it does. But poverty is falling at historic rates. They say, but India has corruption. Yes, but reforms are dismantling old systems, and technology is making governance more transparent. They say, but India has inequality. Yes, but show me a single large economy that doesn't battle inequality. The difference is India is addressing these issues while still growing at record pace. Growth in the face of challenges is harder than growth in perfect conditions, and that makes it even more remarkable. The real shock is that people cannot believe India can rise while still facing challenges. They want a perfect picture, but no country in history has had a perfect picture. When America was rising, it had deep racial divides, massive inequality, and political turmoil. When China was rising, it had environmental crisis, censorship, and social tensions. Yet no one said they couldn't rise. So why is India held to a different standard? Because the world is not ready to accept that this country, with its diversity, its democracy, its contradictions, could still outgrow everyone except one. That disbelief is the shock, not India's ambition. And let's not forget the psychological side of doubt. When you've been told for years that you're not good enough, when the world has painted a picture of you as less, then it takes time to shake that off. But India has shaken it off. The people believe, even if the world doesn't. That's the gap. Inside India, there's confidence, pride, energy, and determination. Outside, there's hesitation, second guessing, skepticism. But history has shown us that internal belief always beats external doubt. Nations rise not because outsiders approve, but because insiders decide. And India has decided. The doubters ask, can India really be the second largest economy? The answer is simple. It's not about can.